All right, we're back. CSIS 2200, Managing Information Systems, chapter number 10. We're back for part number 6. Well, you guys have been hanging on. This is impressive. I know it's a long lecture series on this one, but it is one of the hallmark chapters in this textbook and this course. So that's why I'm spending more time on it. This chapter also has a lot to do with your research project and your presentation assignment. So we left off with the design phase, which left off with us building a prototype and actually developing the system. So we're going to move into phase number 4, which is actually the implementation of the system, introducing the system to the users. Now, this could be done on sometimes you might have seen things like introducing a beta version of this, which it gets released to the public, and then the public then uses the beta version of the system to provide feedback. Anyways, the implementation is a team configures the system and procures components for it. So it's going to collect the information and that's what procures is to collect or acquire the different components. Another way to think of that maybe is the word team kind of threw me off there. Configures the system, which is basically installing it and going through the configuration and the setup so that it works properly on the system is really what they're talking about here. So the task that might be involved is acquiring new, of course, hardware that could be needed during the implementation. You may need to hire new people to use the system or train those existing employees to use the new system. Now, you guys, this is where you're probably going to fall in again into this process when you're in a job situation. Companies implement new systems all the time. And when they do that, they may bring in new people. You may be hired to do this. And that's why I'm asking you guys to learn a new system, because this will go on your LinkedIn profile and your employers will say, hey, do you know that system? That's great. We're just implementing it, or we use that system. Let's bring you in as a new employee possibly. So the implementation is also going to require some planning and design of how the physical layout of that particular system might be. That's a component of the implementation. Coding and testing. So we're going to code it, test it, configure it, I guess, as well. Configure and testing. Designing possibly security measures and safeguarding. Some of the features to prevent it from crashing or from being hacked would also be included in the implementation phase. And create a disaster recovery plan, meaning that if the sprinklers had gone off and covered the servers, what would you do with that managing information system? How would you get it back? Because some of these managing information systems are critical to the operation of your company. Could you imagine, for example, if Amazon and their customer relationship management system servers had a sprinkler malfunction and it swamped their server room, and they had only had one room of their data, Amazon would be out of business. We're talking $1 trillion business that would be out of business. So they do extensive risk management and disaster recovery systems. And they probably have teams of people, even around the world. Well, let's see, don't get too excited here, but because Amazon is primarily North America, probably around the US, that makes sure that they've got disaster recovery plans. So when you're implementing a new system, and this is also another thing where you guys are going to be very, very closely involved. So let's have a clear understanding of the implementation of a new system. You've got different ways of implementing. They call it one the parallel implementing. Another one is the phased in, phased out system. So in this example here that they're showing, the parallel is basically an old and a new system run simultaneously for a short time to ensure that the system works correctly. And this is a good way of doing it. I like parallel implementations because when you're bringing in a brand new system, the old system will just continue and everyone can use it if they like. But you're going to encourage everyone to get onto the new system and start learning it. If they have a problem, they can go back to the old system. Parallel implementations are probably one of the more common. The phased in and phased out is another method that they do. And I've seen this many times as well. What happens with that is the old system is used at a certain part, and then the new system is also brought in a sense. Phased in and phased out is a parallel model, because these are run at the same time for a fixed period of time. So the old system is running at the same time as the new system, but at some point they're going to shut the old system down, and that point can cause a lot of problems. There's got to be a lot of communication going out, a lot of buy-in for people to buy into the new system, and make sure that all the stakeholders that use that old system know about and are on to the new system. So this has to be monitored very closely. All right, another implementation that you can use is a direct cutover. And the direct cutover, let's just summarize it here. The direct cutover is where an old system is simply killed and the new system. You guys saw this when we implemented our new web page. We had an old web page, or basically the one we had a couple months ago was displayed, and I think it was October the 3rd, they had a brand new web page, and then bam, we had a new system. There was no, there's no two web systems. There's no two web pages. There's no link to the other web page. There was just one, and that was it. They chose during the implementation of our new web page system, which is essentially our intranet for students, we decided to go with a direct cutover implementation of that system. And that's what they would have said. We're doing a direct cutover. People would be asking questions like, when is it coming in? This date would be very, very important. Now, we've got parallel, which I just explained. Both are running at the same time, but there is a time when that will end. And that end date needs to be communicated very, very carefully, because usually these are systems that people are working to do their jobs, and they have to get over to the new system. They get a certain amount of time. Then there's a hybrid when they're going to, what they call pilot different components. So what happens in this example here is they will run the old system, and at a certain part, they will provide the new system in parallel or parts of the new system. They may just show one component of the new system and still just take out one of those components to try it out. This is to pilot out if that new system is going to work, so they don't have to risk everything. They might take a non-critical system to trial. And then we've got something called the phased operation. And a phased operation is the most complicated to implement, because what you're doing is you're taking an old system and you're phasing it out in stages. You might have heard of that. We're going to take a system, we're going to phase it out. It could be a major critical system within a company, and we're going to phase out piece by piece by piece. So understanding the implementation and the different four kind of key options really are important to know which implementation you're going to use for yours. So if I gave you an example, like let's say we have a new student registration system, what implementation method would you use to change over to the new system? Would you have a registration system and then just end it and then assume it's going to work? Probably not. The risk to that would be too much. Would you run them at the same time? That means you'd have to enter data once and then maybe enter data twice. So that's probably not the best solution. Would you use a pilot? Would you bring in the new system, a piece of the new system? Possibly. Would you do it as a phased operation? Probably. You could phase in different components of it because it's a very complex system that you could bring in over a period of time. These are a lot more difficult to implement than something like this system right here. All right, let's move on. So when we're implementing a system, project managers are definitely involved in the whole process. But at this stage implementation, project managers really have to step up. This is usually an information technology project management person that does this. Because these are technical systems, so they tend to go with IT. It's usually run through the IT department. So some of the activities that they do is they, of course, are in charge of sort of planning the implementation, managing it, how it's controlled, the different information system creation and how it's delivered. Tools and techniques are all part of the IT management process. They're usually, one of their big jobs is the implementation dates and times. So if it's a phased in process, like if we go back here, especially if you're doing something like the phased operation, if you look at this, actually it looks like a Gantt chart on its own. So if you're doing a phased in approach on a large system, more than likely an IT project manager is involved, and you're definitely having scheduling, timing of how these are going to be implemented. There's going to be a plan, there's going to be goals. They're going to look at potential problems that could occur at particular times. So again, a very stressful job with deadlines, especially because of the scheduling aspect of this. They usually use different software programs to keep them organized, like Microsoft Project, for example. And they use different tools. Now, I'm not going to get into it in a lot of detail in this course because we just don't have time to talk about managing project management, but there are different methods that we can use, like a PERT chart or a critical path method for looking at all the different things of when they need to be done at what time. So these are different ways of helping project management. These are tools and techniques that project management use to implement a system or implement some kind of project. This is an example of a PERT chart and how a PERT chart can be identified by different tasks. So there's an initial task, and then 2 more tasks have to be accomplished, and then there's a certain amount of time frame. So this could be done in, let's say, a number of days or a number of weeks to get that task done. And then what they do is they look for a critical path and what has to be done so they can identify clearly what needs to be done in what order. So this is a tool that project management uses called a PERT chart to help identify. Now the book goes into this a little more detailed, and I would encourage you definitely to look at that. Another one of the key tools project managers use is a Gantt chart, and a Gantt chart is a great tool for keeping a project on time. I mean, another maybe easy metaphor that you might be able to maybe make this more clear is if you're planning a wedding. If you're planning a wedding, you've got a whole bunch of tasks to perform to organize a wedding, and they have to be organized in a very systematic way. Some things in organizing a wedding need to be done, and have a critical timeline, and a PERT chart can help with that. So these are all the different tasks that you need to do to get to the wedding. So you need to book, a form. If you don't book a form first and you're out, getting envelopes for a wedding, you may not get that booked, and then it doesn't matter about the envelopes because the envelopes are printed with the wrong date on it and have to get printed again. So you need to follow a logic process. So you need to be able to understand what the tasks are at hand to be able to plan that wedding. Gantt charts are great for this kind of thing. So you can list down all the events that you need to do for your wedding, let's say, and you can book an amount of time it's going to take to accomplish the task, and you put them in order. You can visualize this and show you how many weeks it takes to organize a wedding. And this is an example of a Gantt chart. And there, again, if you guys want, this is another example of a project you can do if you're in project management. This is another example you could do for research for your category. It would be like project management. And you could do a software as a service for Gantt charts. And there's lots of them out there. And there's free ones and there's paid ones, and there's ones on the cloud, and there's software. Microsoft Project is basically a Gantt chart program, as well as other things. All right, here's just an acronym you should be aware of: a request for proposal, an RFP. So this is a written document that details specifications that you may need as part of this stage. So a request for proposal. You could send it out to many suppliers and ask them for a request for a proposal for a particular type of equipment, that you might need or supply or services, and then you get those requests for proposals back, and then you can look at them and find out which one that you want to go with. So you can send out a request for proposals to multiple companies when requiring, you're trying to purchase equipment usually, or if you're trying to purchase a system, although that's not that common because usually there's not a lot of companies that provide the same product. What you find this is very common when you're bidding on computers. If you want to buy some computers, you may put out a request for proposal where you've got a specific technical requirement for hardware, and you send it out to 10 different computer companies, and they all send you back what they're prepared to charge you for that request for proposal. So government does this, and then they usually take the cheapest bid for that request for proposal. So these requests for proposal, the advantage is that all the vendors that are competing for your business, it's a fair way of evaluating, especially in government. So as in government, if we want to build a new computer lab, we have to send out a request for proposal to multiple companies. They all bid on it, so it's a fair process because it's a government contract, and usually the government just purchases the cheapest one that comes in that meets the requirements. The disadvantage is time. It's very time consuming to send out all these proposals, wait for them to come back to evaluate. Hence, that's one of the reasons why government can be so slow at things sometimes, is because they've got all these extra processes involved. Well, these videos are getting a little long in the tooth, so I think the next few slides, I'll let you guys read through those and definitely read the textbook. We'll skip over to phase number 5, which is the maintenance, or sometimes I call it the support phase. And this is a long phase because the maintenance phase is when the system has already been implemented, the users are using the system, the training usually has occurred, or the training may occur in the maintenance as well. And I spent a lot of my career in phase 5 because I'm in an educational role, and I do spend a lot of time with developing supportive maintenance and support information for systems. I produce videos, documentation, training for systems. So, and also technical support. So I do have, not only as a faculty member, which I teach, I also run a couple of systems at Douglas College as well. So my role is almost exclusively in a maintenance phase. So what I do is I have to understand how these systems work, and I have to be able to communicate with users when they have problems, training. I do videos, like I said, documentation, responding to a lot of emails and problems. And I got emails today on people having certain problems with a scheduling system that I support at the college. So, I got to research all this stuff, figure it out, and then come up with an easy solution to help support the users, and also keep the system up and running and maintain it is a big component of the maintenance section. It's the longest phase. The other phases, it could take between a month to a year. The maintenance phase can take between a year to 10 years a system can live for. So the maintenance phase, or the support phase, is phase 5, I should say, is the longest phase in the SDLC. Now, so that's all I'm going to really say about the maintenance phase. You guys can read a little more in the book about phase number 5. And I know it sounds a little bit odd, but that's my area of expertise, and this is where I spend most of the time for my career, is actually in this phase. So you think I would probably talk a lot more about this one, but it's probably the most boring part of the phase because it's just maintenance. So anyway, there's some new trends in the systems development. I think I'll get you guys to read up on this one. Like SDLC is really a model that's it's losing favor because of how computers have evolved over time. So I think I'll let you guys read that because these videos are getting a little bit long. I don't want to do another one because I think I've tortured you enough with these, and you can read the book and get ready for the quiz. But I want to emphasize that this chapter is very important for you guys to start your research project. And I would highly encourage you to come up with a topic and start selecting the system that you want to build and to learn. So you can put that on your resume. And then, of course, you're going to be doing a video presentation, and you're going to make that presentation. You can upload it to up to the Jing site or the YouTube, one of them or one or the other. And then I'm going to mark it online. So it'll just be sent up to YouTube to do that. And I think I have a video to show you guys how to do that as well. So I think with that, I'm going to just let you guys finish off the rest of these. I've talked a lot about these already. So I will let you finish that, and I will see you guys in the next chapter.